Recently found out my wife cheated on me, got pregnant, and had an abortion 2 years ago. This might go on for quite some time, but I want to give as many information as possible. Almost 5 years ago, I met my 23 male, wife 23 female. We married a little more than 2 years ago. We were an outstanding fit who enjoyed spending time together and doing things we enjoyed. I'd never been so certain about anything in my life as I was when I chose to marry her. We had been living in a town approximately 4 hours away from where we first met, while I worked full-time and she went to school full-time and worked part-time. I was given the possibility to transfer within my firm and return to the location where we met. This was something we had hoped for in the future, but we had not expected it to arrive so soon in our lives. We didn't have much time to think about it, since my job required a response within a few days. We decided to go forward with it, although we still had a lease at our existing place for roughly 3 months. So we agreed that she would remain there till her lease expired and then move up with me. This obviously put our relationship to the test and made things more challenging, but from what I could see, we were making it work. She was finally able to catch up to me. Everything went swimmingly, and we were soon settled in. For some reason, it seemed like everything had altered. We battled all the time because she was so cranky. I'm sure there were times when I could have done better, but practically every one of these conflicts ended up being my fault. She made me feel like I was the worst spouse in the world, and that no matter how hard I tried to please her, it always backfired. She had reduced her studies at the local college to a couple and begun working full-time instead. She always appeared gloomy and like she was concealing something from me. I'm not usually the kind to spy through people's phones, but there was certainly something she was trying to hide from me on there. She had altered her password and erased my fingerprint. We had always been quite honest with each other and had nothing to conceal, so this was a major red flag for me. I shrugged it off, but it still affected me a lot. She decided a little over a year ago that she wanted to relocate to a city 2 hours away so she could complete her degree quicker. It was unfortunate timing, since I had recently discovered another work with considerably higher salary and hours that I couldn't let go of. So I assisted her in finding an apartment and relocating her. We hadn't been in the finest of places, so I reasoned that the distance would help our hearts grow fonder. I went down there every other week, and she came here whenever she could because of her hectic schedule. Things were still not going well, and things didn't seem to be improving no matter how hard I tried. She came up here at the end of December last year and said we needed to chat. We eventually got around to it on the last day she was here. Essentially, she informed me that she was uncertain about our relationship and where it was headed, but she did not expressly state that she desired a separation or divorce. I drove down to her after I got off work a few days after she had returned home to speak to her and attempt to restore our marriage. I hadn't told her I was on my way, but she contacted me when I was about 15 minutes away. She instructed me to turn around and go home when I informed her I was nearly there. I was distraught and hung up the phone, unsure of what to do or what to anticipate. She returned my phone and said she could see me, but she had arrangements with her friends and couldn't chat for long. When I inquired whether I should simply meet her at her apartment, she replied no, and that we should meet someplace else, such as a parking lot. When I approached her and asked what she was concealing, she flung it back at me. So I met her in this parking lot and we both sobbed. When I asked her what she wanted, she said she wasn't sure, but she doesn't believe we can make this work. She said that she now desired new things and was unable to provide me with what I want. I promised her that I would go out of my way to change in order to retain her in my life. She left me there and went to see a friend. I cried the whole 2-hour drive back home. The following day, we spoke on the phone, and I told her I needed an answer. I'd want to hear her admit she wants a divorce if that's what she's pushing for. She did, after all, say it. But I couldn't accept the reason for her departure. Something else has to have occurred. She said it was the case and that she needed to concentrate on herself. I pushed and pushed to have closure, and I repeatedly questioned her whether she cheated. I told her that would offer me more closure than what she was telling me now, but she refused. It took me roughly 4 months to get back on track in my life. I was rediscovering pleasure through doing things I like, and I'd even began dating again. The prospect of her absence disturbed me. We even chatted approximately once a week and were nice to one another. There didn't appear to be much possibility of us getting back together anytime soon, but at least we could communicate to one another without any problems. She knew I was dating, and I knew it worried her, but I also knew she was pleased for me. My name was also on the automobile she was driving. It needed to be repaired, and it would be too costly for her to take it to a shop, so I promised to fix it to assist her. She brought it to me about a week ago, and I mended it as we discussed our relationship and where we went wrong. It was a peaceful chat with no problems until she became emotional and stated, "I committed errors that I'm not proud of." This was something she hadn't stated before, so it worried me and made me suspect of her cheating. I didn't want to get into a fight, so I left it alone. We ended up going out to brunch together and having a great time. I'd been missing her a lot. She returned home, and that was the end of it. She contacted me the next morning to say she had a fantastic time with me. Then she said that she was perplexed and uncertain about us. So I asked her why she didn't want to share her errors with me. She informed me that I had no clue how horrible it was and that she had already suffered enough as a result of it. So I pushed and pushed, hoping to pull it out of her. Because my mind was creating so many assumptions, I couldn't simply leave it at this point. She inquired as to what I was assuming. I informed her that I knew she cheated, but I didn't know where, when, or with whom. She didn't have anything to say. I persisted in pressing. She stated she was feeling nauseous from talking about it and that we should discuss it later since she was in class. She advised me to expect the worst and I'd be correct. So I asked her if she got pregnant, and she didn't say anything. She assured me we could chat later. She contacted me a few hours later. I questioned whether I was correct about her being pregnant. She agreed. I inquired as to whether she had had an abortion. She agreed. She informed me about it when I moved back up here 2 summers ago, only a few months after we married. She said she became inebriated and went home with a man. When the condom ruptured, she resorted to Plan B, yet she still became pregnant. Everything in me wanted to know who it was, but I also realized it wasn't worth jeopardizing my own life because of him. I was furious with her and didn't know what to do. So many things began to make sense, and I understood that all of the difficulties we had over the prior 2 years were not due to my being a horrible spouse, but because she was concealing everything from me and the guilt was crushing her. She couldn't say anything else but, "I'm sorry." She told me she was suicidal as a result of it and regretted she hadn't informed me. I'm not the sort of person who holds grudges, and I honestly hope that I can forgive her for what she did to me. I also recognize that this was really terrible for her to go through, so I'm not trying to seem selfish here. But just when I was regaining my happiness, she smacked me with this. I fell in love with her and wanted to spend the rest of my life with her. Obviously, in order to forgive her, I'll need to lay everything out on the table. It will take time and perseverance to be able to trust her again. I sincerely want to be with her again, but I want to prevent any potential problems in our present life. She still has a year and a half of school left, so we couldn't live together given my present employment position. I know I still need time to analyze everything and figure out which way I want to proceed in. Do I really forgive her for this atrocity and restart my life with her? Or should I continue to live my life in search of something new?